What do you make of the Jalen Waddle to the Broncos trade as it pertains to fantasy football in the FFPC? Is there a striking new sleeper at the tight end position in the NFC East? And we will also get a visit from 20-time FFPC Dynasty winner Fritz Pollard as we quiz him on Aronde Gadsden, George Pickens, and so much more. We've got a great show for you. I'm Eric Balkman. Ferrell Elliott is here. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than me, the lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man, nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Ferrelliacs. Welcome into the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com, MyFFPC.com, the home of the Fantasy Football Players Championship. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. My co-host is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Ferrell Elliott. Coming up on tonight's program, we're going to talk about a sneaky signing for the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll also get into the potential for a Super Bowl slide or Super Bowl hangover, I think is what they call it, for Drake May and the New England Patriots offense. And we're also going to be joined by Fritz Pollard, a gentleman who has won 20 FFPC Dynasty Leagues, won more FFPC Leagues than that, but he's won 20 Dynasty Leagues. We're going to have him pop in here in about 13, 14 minutes. We're going to talk about Dallas Goedert. We're going to talk about Jonathan Brooks, and we're going to talk about Tyler Algier as well with Fritz coming up on tonight's program. And then we'll get into fantasy feedback with your emails coming up later on in the show. I want to let you know if you want to connect with us on X, at HSFF Hour, at Eric Balkman. Check out the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship that Ferrell runs at KFFSC.com. Facebook.com/HSFF Hour is where to reach us. Email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. That's highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, send them in now. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, X posts, and emails in the fantasy feedback segment coming up later on in the show. Shout out to our audio engineer and my best friend Bryce, and of course our producer and mutual friend Rob. Ladies and gentlemen, the FFPC is featuring Dynasty and Empire Dynasty orphans for as little as $1 right now. That's right. You basically get to manage a Dynasty team for free for 2026. Check it out, myffpc.com/Dynasty for sale is where you can peruse those. We have been adding many of them on there. The 77 level is getting kind of low, but we got a ton of $100 and $250 level ones, plus some really good deals on $500 and $750 and a couple of $1250s that are still floating around out there as well. So pick those up at myffpc.com. If you want to start from scratch, the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament and the Superflex Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament available now at myffpc.com. $125 for the classic version, $40,000 grand prize, and a $35 entry into the Superflex version with a $10,000 grand prize. And of course, I got to tell you about the Gorillas. The Big Gorilla is back, $1 million grand prize, $350 to enter the 7 Bananas promo, as well as the early Rampage tournament going on right now. It's 2 tournaments for the price of 1 entry fee. Early Rampage tournament featuring a $25,000 grand prize as well. It is limited to the first 200 leagues we fill. The Baby Gorilla is great if you've always wanted to play high stakes fantasy football. You can now do it for $125. That's all it's going to set you back to enter in the Baby Gorilla, and you have a chance at winning a $100,000 grand prize. MyFFPC.com, MyFFPC.com is where to go for that, to register for those and so much more. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share with your friends, share with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live. Give you the schedule on the rest of the week coming up later on at the end of the show. Bring in the co-host with the most, ladies and gentlemen, at J. Ferrell Elliott on the gram, on the X, and of course, KFFSC.com is where to register for the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. Leagues filling right now. Mr. Ferrell Elliott. Ferrell, happy Wednesday to you, sir.
Buddy, it's my pleasure to see you tonight, and thank you for that KFFSC push out there. You look good. You look like you had a great St. Patty's Day. Things about Balky, Wednesday night. I love our Wednesday night show. Tommy Island's here. How does it get any better than that?
It does not. It does not get much better.
And he's a North Carolinian, which if you think anyone would have March Madness, it would be
him.
Tommy Island. But, we're competing against the Cinderella Miami of Ohio's tonight. Maybe we'll get a lot of listeners on the on-demand version.
On the stream, absolutely.
What do you think about that?
I think you're right. I think we will. I also think that we need to do this before I forget. I texted him. I was texting back and forth with him a couple hours ago. He said, don't worry about it. I am going to worry about it. Happy 50th birthday to one Steve Yergalos, a.k.a. Steve G.
Don't worry about it.
Fantasy Sopranos, the big 5-0 for him today. So I don't think we'll see him in the chat because he's celebrating. He said he doesn't make a big deal out of birthdays. I'm going to make a big deal out of it.
I'm going to make a big deal about it, too. The big 50 for Steve. And anyone that was betting on the age of Steve G would take the under.
Mm-hmm.
You go under.
I told the FFPC team, I said, yeah, Steve G's celebrating 50. And nobody could believe he was 50. They thought he was like 40 or early 40s.
38.
He definitely looks younger than 50 for sure. All right, let's talk about a guy who is much younger than 50, and that's Jalen Waddle, Ferrell, because he is moving from South Beach to getting a Rocky Mountain high, according to the Athletics' Diana Rossini, who first reported that Denver has now acquired Jalen Waddle in exchange for first, third, and fourth round picks in next month's draft. The Dolphins also sending a fourth round pick over to Denver as well. This is a pretty penny that Denver is giving up to get him. This is a player, Waddle, 122 catches, 1,600 yards in the last 2 seasons. That's a great season, but that's what he did over the last 2. So he's averaging about 60 for 800, about 5 touchdowns a year. Malik Washington and Tutu Atwell now at the top of the Miami Dolphins depth chart. Malik Willis saying, what in the hell did I sign up for? We'll get into that in a little bit. Waddle, 41% air yard share, 22% target share last season. Last year, Denver ranked 4th in the league in pass attempts and 11th in passing yards. This is a team, Ferrell, that was already throwing the football. And now we know that Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, they're supporting actors at best. Jalen Waddle, do we draft him as the number 2 or perhaps the number 1 wide receiver in Denver? How's this going to go for the Broncos now?
The number 1 and number 2 in Denver whoever is the number 2 in Denver might outproduce the number 1 on several other teams. You said it all, Bucky. This team wants to pass the ball. That's how they're designed. This is a team that you take the quarterback, you let him be healthy through the playoffs. I think we would have been watching them in the Super Bowl. I said that before. You mentioned that they are 4th in passing attempts. I think they dropped in somewhere around 36 a game. I would say, do you have the first 3? I think Arizona might be one. Dallas definitely one. I'm trying to think who the other one might be, but I bet they were a losing team. This is a winning team. This is a Super Bowl destiny team that loves to pass the ball. I bet you Cincinnati was number 2. What do you want to bet?
I'm looking it up right now.
You look it up right now, but look.
Now, hold on. Who did you say? You said Arizona. They're number 1.
Arizona would be 1. Cincinnati would be 2. Or Dallas would be 2, and Cincinnati would be 3. Something like that.
Cincinnati 2, Dallas 3. You are dialed in.
Right? All right. So, in Dallas is designed to throw the ball too, but they were okay. You got 3 losing teams, and you got a Super Bowl contender. This is the difference in what this passing attack brings as opposed to those other teams. So but here you have a player that can run all the routes. You fantasy players talk about Hill being the deep threat and Waddle underneath. That was because they're watching what's the show where it's just the highlights on Sunday. Yeah, they're watching Red Zone instead of the games. This Waddle can run every route there is in the book. He's going to be great with this quarterback. how does it affect the other receivers? Sutton is going to be in a wonderful situation. They can't roll coverage to him anymore. You take Franklin, who we like in this team. I just love the upside for the passing game. And this is why you draft early, everyone, because, I've already talked to our beloved friend Bob Cole. Bob Cole says, hey, I drafted Waddle at Super Sunday and got a bargain on him. And now look. And, Nix in the Big Gorilla that I'm drafting the other night, Nix is my number 2 quarterback, and he was available late. And, he's going to throw the ball 35 times a game, and now he's got an upgraded target in Waddle. This is why you draft early, because you can get tremendous value. These guys won't be available at their ADP as we go forward.
The ADP on both of these provided to you by FantasyMojo.com at FantasyMojo on X. Darren Armani, the godfather of the Pros vs. Joe's Challenge, also runs that website. Anytime we spend ADP on here, it's due to his website. If you are playing in the FFPC, get a membership and a subscription to FantasyMojo.com. Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 26 at the 601 currently. Wide receiver 31 at the 612 for Cortland Sutton. Ferrell, do you expect Sutton to pass Waddle now that they're on the same team? Or do you imagine Waddle actually goes up even further up the ADP board?
They might be bookends in production, but the value now will come to Sutton as far as because he'll drop. It'll be natural reaction that they'll drop. And so you can get a bargain. You can get a bargain on Sutton as well, and Franklin will be a real bargain. So yeah, get involved with this passing attack.
I think we just don't have the time, but I'd love to tackle more of those Denver receivers because I think you and I might butt heads on Troy Franklin. But
what do you expect him to do?
My opinion, if I'm drafting, I guess we will get into it. If I'm drafting a third wide receiver, I think I like Pat Bryant a little bit better than Troy.
Well, and then you just might be crazy.
Okay, well, then I might be crazy. But it just may be a lunatic you're looking for, said the great William Joel. This is something that the great Colton Pouncey said in The Athletic. And I thought it kind of made me go, Isaac Tesla should be a, quote, full-time starter in 2026. So if we look at this, Tesla last year, his rookie year, he didn't play a whole lot until Khalif Raymond, or as our friend John Hansen from Fantasy from Fantasy Points would say, Raymond Khalif, started dealing with an ankle injury. This happened towards the end of November. Tesla all of a sudden was getting 44 snaps a game on average for the rest of the season. 27 targets, and dude got 6 touchdowns. If he is a full-time starter in 2026, Ferrell, we need to start paying more attention to this guy. Right now in FFPC, Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament action, wide receiver 71 at the 1707. He's right above the Trays, Harris and Tucker. He's right ahead of Shamir DK and right underneath Denver Broncos stalwart Pat Bryant right now. So Tesla, wide receiver 71, is a full-time starter for Detroit. What am I missing here? He should be going.
You're not missing anything, Balky, because this player, fantastic athletic skills and presence on the field. 6'4", 215. He has the qualities of what you like in that type of receiver. Pittman-esque. There we are. We got it in at the 14-minute. He's just beginning to come into his game. Only 1 year at Arkansas. Hillsdale College, I think, before he transferred to Arkansas.
Yeah.
1 year at Arkansas. The team, the coaches love him. The players love him. And the general manager who traded 2 future third-round picks to get him loves him. This is no surprise that they're saying, hey, it's time. And he deserves it. He's almost mirroring the ascension of Pierce down at Indianapolis. It's beginning to look like that. But because of the type of passing attack that they have in Detroit and the kind of field that they play on, he's going to do very well. And I think in the Big Gorilla, that I drafted him in the 17th round. I was shocked that he was still there.
Yeah. And he's going to go. I'm going to say this right now. Dave Burkett, who covers the Lions, had this to say back in December. Dan Campbell said he hoped Sam Laporta will be ready for in training camp. Now, Laporta was dealing with this back injury, if you remember last year.
Mm-hmm.
Was reported kind of out of the blue that he was going to be missing 4 games by being placed on IR. And then all of a sudden, yeah, he's being shut down for the season. What? Where did this come from? Right? Mm-hmm. As I always say on this show, nobody ever says they used to have a bad back. And I'm not burying Sam Laporta underground. Okay. Right. But he's still a young man. He could still make it happen. But this is what I'm saying when I'm connecting the dots here. Mm-hmm. 6'4", 215 for Tesla. 6'3", 245 for Laporta. Mm-hmm. If Laporta misses time, or if he's not on the field, and I'm not saying Tesla does the same things as Laporta, but I could definitely see a world pretty easily that exists where Tesla is out there a lot more than Laporta while he's nursing this bad back. And all of a sudden, everybody's scratching their head in week 5 when Tesla already has 6 touchdowns. And everybody's like, well, why weren't we drafting this guy early on? I'm telling you right now, there's a world that exists where this back issue for Laporta continues throughout 2026, and Tesla has the rise in real life and fantasy production that Brad Holmes and the Lions front office and Dan Campbell envisioned when they gave up all this draft capital for him. I don't.
You're saying if Laporta's not on the field, whoever is at tight end position of the Detroit Lions does not have the same ball catching skills, and especially in the red zone, it will be Laporta. 100%. It will be Tesla.
100%. Totally.
No, that's highly. Yeah. Hey, there's old Johnny Lincoln coming in with us.
Yeah, John Lincoln. We do have. He wants to know about Christian Watson. I'm trying to figure out.
We might get to that.
Yeah, we will get to that, John. Yeah. I promise you, we will get to that either on this show or extra reps. We will tackle Christian Watson. A team that is hoping that their new tight end will not be tackled by a whole bunch of opposing defenses is the New York Giants. Why? Because Dan Dugan from The Athletic reporting Isaiah Likely is expected to be a featured piece of the Giants offense this season. 3 years, $48 million for Likely, joining his former head coach, John Harbaugh, in the Big Apple / New Jersey. The Giants lost Wan'Dale Robinson, Ferrell. I was listening to Derek Brown from Fantasy Pros talk about this, and he has Likely as his tight end 7 this year. And I thought that was just egregious. But then I'm thinking about it. No Wan'Dale Robinson. The Giants have went out and signed Calvin Austin and Darnell Mooney, which to me is as much of an indictment on not having Wan'Dale Robinson on the team as it is maybe Malik Neighbors not going to be ready for the start of the season. I mean, we haven't heard a whole lot on that. I think Justin Boone was talking about this too from Yahoo. Like, we haven't heard a whole lot of positivity coming out about Malik Neighbors. And if that's the case, Ferrell, no Wan'Dale Robinson, no Malik Neighbors, this could be a big year for Isaiah Likely and maybe Theo Johnson as well. Likely right now, and I'll get your thoughts on him as soon as I give you the ADP. Likely right now in the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament with the FFPC, tight end 16 at the 10:02. Your thoughts on what I think and what you think about Likely in the Big Apple.
We said that last week. He's a slot receiver. He's not a tight end. And you go back and look at his numbers. Most of his receptions in Baltimore was at a slot receiver. Probably 100 at least of them. Here's a stat. 73% of his snaps last year in the slot at Baltimore. That's the same thing they see for him up here. Now, he doesn't run like an Ertz, or let me think of somebody younger. He doesn't run like Gadsden, but he has long speed. Once he breaks off the line and he gets on the field, gets the ball in his hands, he can do some things with it. So, yeah, this is the one Giant move that I'm thumbs up with. They've got health issues at more than just the wide receiver position. And this is a big target, a good player. And we said this on the show last week. This is no surprise. And people are going to come to that as we move through the as we move through the drafting season. But as you so eloquently said in the opening of the show, Bucky, the FFPC with the Gorillas and the Best Balls and come and benefit from the bargain price of a likely right now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this guy should probably be going ahead of Travis Kelce, probably ahead of Dallas Goedert. I would take him over Kittle at this point.
You've just gone off tilt now.
Well, yeah. I think over Kenyon Sadiq, you can make a case for him over Sadiq. Maybe he should be in the Gadsden, Kincaid, Ferguson glob that's going here in the 7th round. And we'll see. Maybe he rises close to that. But I'm with Ferrell on this. Get in while the getting's good on Isaiah Likely. Okay. Let's move on to tonight's guest.
Okay. I think it's great.
Winner of numerous FFPC leagues. 20 of those leagues that he is champion of have been of the dynasty variety in the FFPC. He's here tonight to talk about not a whole lot of rookie conversation. Maybe we'll get into some rookies, but I definitely want to get into dynasty values and what we should be doing and expecting from some of these players from a dynasty standpoint, from the guy who has won 20 plus leagues in the FFPC over the course of his career. Please welcome onto the show. Not sure what to call him. Fritz Pollard. Do I call him Ned or do I call him Pete C? Welcome in tonight. All right, what are we calling you tonight? What's your preferred first name?
Pete C is the OG name, yes. So
All
you can call me Pete C.
So we'll roll with Pete C.
I wanted to be kind of anonymous since Fritz Pollard is my identification in FFPC. But I'll say hello to all my opponents. This is Fritz Pollard. This is the ugly puss that gives you so much trouble.
Right. Yeah. So and Fritz Pollard, Ferrell, you could probably talk about this more. Famous football coach, right?
No, Fritz Pollard is a legend. Matter of fact, I think you should have a legend named Balky, like I don't know, John Wayne or something like that. Or, I'd drink somebody with a beard. Nice to see you, Pete. Yeah, I remember when I first around the FFPC, I first saw Fritz Pollard. I said, well, that guy's name is Pollard, and somebody made a typo. and got confused and put the wrong name in there. So thanks for clearing it all up. And you look a little younger than Fritz. You look a little bit younger.
Thank you. I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. Pete, I promise you we'll get into fantasy football. With regards to you wanting to remain anonymous, you can feel free to be as nebulous with your answer on this as you want. But when you're not winning all these dynasty leagues of the FFPC, what are you doing for a living?
Well, I was in outside sales for about 35 years, and I recently retired last year. So I'm devoting more time to FFPC. I don't play pickleball, so FFPC and fantasy football is my hobby. And the season never ends on FFPC.
Outside sales? What do you mean? You have like a lemonade stand for 4 years old? You're too young to be in anything for 35 years. What the hell are you talking about?
That's about right. Lemonade stand, yes.
All right. Congratulations with your FFPC prowess. It's pretty fast.
It's a great league. I'm a battered and bruised home commissioner. And discovering the FFPC is a gift from heaven.
Yes.
And it's, you guys do the heavy lifting. You're the commissioner. I get to play like the other 11 teams, and that's really a dream. That's never happened before, and I can't say enough about the FFPC.
When we have a video testimonial page for at myffpc.com, Pete, yours will be the first one up there. Thank you so much.
The Hall of Fame testimonials. Hey, there's another guy going to the Hall of Fame, and I think his dreams have also come true since leaving Green Bay. It was hard on Balky. Balky hadn't quite got over it yet. But when you start to begin to think about Davante Adams' career, where are we going with it? He's 33 years old. Let's look in dynasty perspective. I have a couple of teams that are going nowhere fast in dynasty. Should I try to move Davante Adams for whatever I can get for him, or should I hang on and try to squeeze one more big touchdown reception year out of it?
This has been a question for the past 4 years.
Yes, it has.
Davante Adams hit that age, 29 years old, and just about everybody jumped ship because, God, he's 29.
And he became a Raider. That didn't help.
And that works for, about maybe half the league. But guys that are going to be wearing a gold jacket, guys that are going to Canton, Ohio, even in the conversation, you got to treat them differently as they age. Davante Adams is one of those players. He's going to wear a gold jacket someday. You just ride him until the wheels come off. Unless, you're a team that's going to be not in the playoffs, you're really rebuilding. Yeah, you can move them, but, that's why I don't move those guys. It's like 10 cents on the dollar to move players like that. You're not going to get the return, with a draft pick or a player. You might as well just ride them until the wheels come off, like I said. And I've won fantasy leagues because of Davante Adams. I mean, teams have approached me for a second-round pick for him, and I scooped them up every time for a second-round pick. I never gave up a first-round pick. Some creative teams will offer you their second-round pick and for your first-round pick in Davante Adams, but I wouldn't go that route. You can get him for a second-rounder, and even this year, I mean, he's got about 2 years left. He probably won't be on the Rams coming up next year because of his contract, but he'll find a home somewhere. And I just say, if he's going to Canton, Ohio, ride him. That reminds me of McCaffrey and Barkley. People were selling McCaffrey as soon as he got traded from San Francisco to San Francisco from Carolina. They approached me, hey, they want my number one pick for McCaffrey. I did it, and I haven't looked back. He's
you don't live in fear with the name brands of the NFL, and I like that. And I like you're headed to the Hall of Fame. You got to treat those guys differently. Hey, maybe Balky, I wonder when Biletnikoff retired, my other Raider favorite receiver. Maybe Adams will be the first 40-year-old productive wide receiver.
Yeah, Jerry Rice went to 40-something, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so sure he's in Canton as
Coming
well.
back from a debilitating injury.
Biletnikoff retired at age 35, Ferrell.
Yeah, there you go. So hang in there, Adams. You said it 2 more years. You said 2 more years.
About 2 more years. And, if you're playing Dynasty League, you really should know the player's contract because that's what teams are looking at. And so much right now in the CPA. You saw how many trades have been made just since the start of the league year, probably 15 or 20. And it's all based on contracts. So teams will get off players, move players because of contracts, and you kind of look ahead. If you see their contract and what their teams are really thinking and you see the dead money, that's why Davante Adams couldn't be moved. And that's why it's tough to move a guy like A.J. Brown, even though, he probably will be moved because they can split up that dead cap figure.
There's a lot of talent in that division out there. Davante Adams will find his place to contribute.
It's kind of funny when you think about it too, because if you were one of those people that parted ways with Davante Adams in exchange for a second-round pick last year, perhaps you got Jaden Higgins or Trey Harris or Jack Besh. You also missed out on a 14-touchdown season with Davante Adams. And I'm with you. I always bring up the Hines Ward analogy, Pete. I held Hines Ward for years, and I just would not trade him because I was just like, he's probably got 1 more year. And you know what? Finally, I was wrong, and he didn't have 1 more year. But I got another half decade out of him when everybody else left him for dead. So I do think that there's a nuance to doing this as well.
And he deserves to be in Canton too.
Yes.
I'm glad it asked that question because it informed, not only did it inform the listeners and the viewers, and I think you guys are correct on it, but also you guys were able to go down memory lane and talk about your victorious decisions. I'm just so glad to be a facilitator of this genius here on the show.
We only divulge what works. There's plenty of the ones that don't work really stick with you.
Yeah,
but you don't bring them up as much.
Yeah, no, they'll never see the light of day on this show. By the way, guys, as long as we're talking about Hines Ward, do you guys know last year? Well, I mean, not just last year, but last football season, Hines Ward was the Arizona State wide receivers coach, where he coached one Jordan Tyson, who may or may not come up on tonight's show. Very interesting there.
There's some knowledge right there. There you go.
Speaking of Arizona guys, Tyler Algier has landed there. Now, I think there's certain people that are excited about this spot. Pete, I was largely underwhelmed, not only for him joining a crowded backfield, but for him not signing for a ton of money there as well. Now, I understand the fact that Arizona threw the ball a ton last year. And what was the result of throwing the ball a ton? A lot of losses, a lot of fired coaching staffs. So that is probably not the way Arizona wants to continue in 2026. However, the fact that they've restructured James Conner's contract, the fact that Trey Benson is still under contract, and now Tyler Algier goes there to be part of a three-headed monster, maybe just a two-headed backfield there. If we read between the lines on Trey Benson, Pete, with me trying not to lead you any which way, I want to get your honest thoughts on this. Was this a disappointment for those FFPC players who own Tyler Algier in Dynasty to see him now wearing a Redbird on his helmet for 2026?
Well, number one, it beats being in Atlanta behind Bijan Robinson. So that's a good thing. I've been waiting for him to hit his free agent year for the past 2 years. And as a Bijan Robinson owner, I wanted him out of town too. But I was hoping he would go to Pittsburgh or Washington, one of those teams, because, you know, they would be a good fit. But when he went to Arizona, I was a bit surprised. But in taking a look at it, I do like it because he's got James Conner behind him. Now, James Conner got the ball a lot in Arizona, but it's a new coaching staff. And they're not beholden to James Conner like the old coaching staff. Same GM. That's why he was re-signed, but it's a new coaching staff. So that ball is going to be split up a little bit differently than we've seen with James Conner in the past. And it's really indicative of what they think of Trey Benson this signing, because to bring Algier in, they're probably out on Trey Benson. It's definitely a new coaching staff that doesn't know him. He's going to have his work cut out for him to get, you know, even suit up on Sundays, Trey Benson. He may want to start learning how to play special teams if he's not a kickoff returner yet. But now Tyler Algier, to get back to that, he can do a lot of things. He can block. He can catch passes. He's definitely good at the goal line. Sure, James Conner will take some time away from him at the goal line, but like I said, it's a new coaching staff. He's going to be the bell cow. It's kind of like what happened with Spears and Pollard in Tennessee. The new coaching staff brought Pollard in, and they were more beholden to Pollard. You know, if that was right or wrong, but that's what they did because they brought him in and they targeted him. And I think this is what's happening in Arizona. And I expect him to be an RB2. You know, a weekly ranking somewhere around 22. I think he's going to be, you know, a low-end RB2, but that's good enough. I mean, if you're playing zero running back in a yearly league, it's the guy you kind of want to target because he can do it for you week in and week out, possibly, if he gets enough touches. So I like it. I think, you know, there could be worse landing spots. And I was hoping he would go to Houston before they signed David Montgomery, but I'll take Arizona. I mean, there's not a lot of competition there.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens in the rookie draft.
I can tell you this right now. I know we're talking dynasty, but as far as how FFPC redraft people are treating Algier, he's being drafted as running back 33. And if you are of the belief, and I don't think you're off on this, that he's going to be right around that running back 20 to 25 on a weekly basis, it's a good time to strike while the iron's hot, not only in redraft, but probably seeing how your current teammate or league mate is handling Tyler Algier and his team. Maybe worth reaching out to see if you can acquire him on the cheap.
What round is running back 33? What approximate round is that?
The 8-9 turn.
Yeah,
so
8-9 turn. Right.
Yeah.
And that is value right there. That's value. And that's good that he's in Arizona because he's not on people's radar. People are a little leery of him. Don't know what to expect. So I'm going to wait. Great. I'll wait and I'll take value and I'll have an RB2. I'll grab a McCaffrey. I'll grab a James Cook, and he can be my RB3 for great value.
And I think in your assessment there, one of the things that you highly illustrated is that nothing disquiets the gut function of a Bijan Robinson owner than to see him on the sidelines and to see Tyler in the backfield. I mean, those Robinson's owners would just decompose and just go crazy, and it was so entertaining to watch. But
That's what happens to Kincaid owners when Dawson Knox catches a touchdown.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you a guy that I think is going to catch some touchdowns. We're shifting to dynasty action, but for redraft too, and Balky can give us some instructions on where this player is going. But the guys remind me, did the bye week start in week 4 last year, or was it week 5?
I believe it was week 4, but I'm going to look it up right now.
Okay. Well, that kind of – I found this player – I saw him in college, Oronde Guess. This is a player that I really appreciated. And then he got labeled as a tight end. We've already talked about Likely in the show. This guy is similar to Likely, except he's a better receiver, and he's completely faster. He's the separation between these two players – speed-wise, is no contest with Gasson. But what I noticed last year, you guys remember the Chargers started 1-2, and then they rolled off 4 or 5 wins. And during those 4 or 5 wins, Gasson he caught everything they threw. It was impressive. He caught touchdowns. He was great in the short yardage. He was great with the ball. Then he seemed to go away. And I can't remember if there was an injury, a nagging situation, but his productivity changed a great deal towards the end of the season. But that early time, about the time the bye week started, and that's when you saw a lot of pickups of this player if he wasn't already rostered. At least that's how I remember it. So my question to you is, now we have McDaniel coming from Miami to this team. Whatever you think of McDaniel, he has to remember that when he played this team last year, this player caught 7 balls. He has to. What do you? I like your take on new coaches coming in and dealing with the talent they got. And to me, this player is going to somewhat supplant all the catches that Keenan Allen had. What do you see in the future for this player? I think the sky is the proverbial fantasy limit in the FFPC, especially since he's a receiver with a tight end league.
Well, he's right. You were talking right up my alley. I'm a Gadsden guy. I have him in half my dynasty leagues, and I'm very happy to have him and to see that I own him about 55% of my leagues. He's my most owned player.
55%.
Yeah. Well, I jumped on the waiver wire on week 3. He got 12 fantasy points week 3, and I said, well, this guy's going to take off because I saw what he was doing, and he doesn't have a lot of competition with the Chargers. So I jumped on it, and then he had a lull for 2 weeks. And then, like you said, he had 4 or 5 weeks where he was getting 20s plus. Mm-hmm. He was just a monster. And then he fell off, and the reason he fell off, I believe, is because his offensive line was injured, and they couldn't go over the middle like they want to. And I think that affected his numbers. He did have a couple games later in December, but nothing like he did in October and November. And I think that's a good thing. That's why you can get him in your yearly leagues around the 9th, 8th, 9th turn. You can get good value on him. And he's a guy that's going to you're going to see that with Mike McDaniel, it is a perfect fit. What did Mike McDaniel do with Jonnu Smith? Crazy. What did he do with Waller? Waller's a corpse. And he got performance out of Waller. Waller did nothing with the Giants.
I do recall this.
Mike McDaniel will get the most out of his players, especially tight end. And Mike McDaniel only uses 1 tight end. He's not one of those guys that's going to go 12 personnel, use 2 tight ends. You can count on just 1 tight end being out there, and that's Gadsden. Who's behind him, I really don't know at this point, and I don't want to know because I think Mike McDaniel is smart enough to get the ball to Gadsden, and I'm really in on all the Chargers because of Mike McDaniel.
Love that.
So a couple of things here. Number one, I was wrong. Buys started in week 5 last year, Ferrell.
Okay.
And then Charlie Kolar is the backup tight end right now behind Gadsden, formerly of the Baltimore Ravens. But you're right, should be wheels up for Gadsden. And I do remember last year, I think Joe Alt was hurt before training camp, but he was going to be back healthy. And then right when he was coming back, Rashawn Slater goes down with the season-ending injury. And then Alt follows with another season-ending injury. As you said, probably like sometime in October or whatever, right when Gadsden was taking off. and then either he was asked to block a little bit more likely, I'd have to go back and look, he was not on the field as much because they had to have more blocking tight ends in there, and Gadsden just really didn't have an opportunity. This year could be very different, as you just heard from one Pete C. / Fritz Pollard / Ned. Okay, let's go into Lamar Jackson, who apparently has taken up boxing now, Pete. I just found this out today. He's working out. He's boxing. There were reports that John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson, I don't want to say that they disliked each other, but it just was not – it wasn't – it had run its course, basically. It's kind of similar to what happened with Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy, although that might be rekindled this year, so you never know. But Lamar Jackson will have a new coach. He's going to have a new coaching staff, new OC this year. What do you think the likelihood that Jackson bounces back this year now that he is essentially more healthy than he was in the 2025 season, depending upon, what you believe in that narrative as well. But Jackson, new coaching staff, new look, new opportunity, new production in 2026?
I'm not in on it. I think that Lamar Jackson, with his supporting cast, is sketchy. Zay Flowers is his best receiver. You know who should have failed the physical was Rashawn Bateman when they offered him that second contract. Why they did that, I don't know. But Bateman is still there, and he's still the wide receiver too. I mean, insert Z's here. Who cares? And why did they sign Mark Andrews, the tight end, Mark Andrews? And why they let Likely out of town for Mark Andrews? Really? Okay. And I really think the Ravens are. And you take a look again, the contract. Take a look at Lamar Jackson's contract. It's possible they can get out of it next year. It'll be about $75 million of dead money, which they can split up. We've seen teams do that. So we'll see how things go this year and see what longevity is. There'll be a job for Lamar somewhere, but does he really have that body type still to pound the ball and run the ball? He's getting a little older, and I'm not sure he's going to be wearing a gold jacket.
Pete C., I've been in agreement with everything that you've said, and I can lean your way on some of this. But we started the show talking about Denver and how much they threw the ball, and I think if we go, Balky, if you can pull your stats up again, I think one of the problems that Lamar dealt with is not that he can't run the ball anymore, but that Baltimore threw the ball less than anyone last year. If not, they're close. It's there's a lot of talk, and especially in the pros versus Joes. These guys were thrilled about Zay Flowers, and I used to say, Zay Flowers, you can't count on production. If he catches 60, 70 balls, that's 100 catches somewhere else because the ball's just not in the air. And that has a lot to do with Derrick Henry as well, one of my favorite players. In Andrew's case, there were injury issues last year. I think he's still a credible player and a bargain in these drafts. But, here sitting in Louisville, Kentucky, I don't think Lamar has been anointed as the greatest quarterback ever, but I think he deserves a new coach and a new situation. So I wouldn't throw that situation away.
No, you don't throw him away. I have him in many leagues still, and I've been offered him. I'm not buying. I'll just hold. He plays his own.
Is better than sell. So now
he's definitely a hold. He's not a sell right now because again, you'll take less than he's worth. So you got to hold him. If you want to sell him, wait till he has a 30-point game, and then you can sell him. But he plays his own agent.
I think he can be worth a great deal.
But who's the offensive coordinator in Baltimore today?
I actually don't know.
Declan Doyle. Mm-hmm. Declan Doyle is 29 years old. Declan Doyle, I don't know Declan Doyle from a goalpost. And he's 29. He coached with Ben Johnson last year. We was with Sean Payton before that, from what I read. But since Lamar Jackson plays agent, he's going to be playing offensive coordinator, which maybe that's a good thing.
I think I know that guy's uncle, Oil Can Boyd. But, if you're a 29-year-old offensive coordinator and you've got Lamar Jackson and you're coming from the Detroits, I think you're going to throw the ball. I think we're going to be okay.
It's going to be up to Lamar.
The stats from last year The Ravens threw the ball 422 times last season. That was last in the league.
Who was it?
47 fewer pass attempts for the Ravens than the Commanders, who were 31st. So there is a 47, and if we go all the way to the top, the Ravens threw the ball 227 fewer times than the Arizona Cardinals last year, the Cardinals who led the league in pass attempts. That is basically 13 pass attempts extra per game for the Arizona Cardinals last year than the Baltimore Ravens. Certainly makes your head spin.
And that's a good point with Algier, because that's a new offense, and that's going to be a running offense in Arizona. That's an offense that's going to mirror the Rams, mirror what they're doing in Green Bay. That's a plus there. Now, they're not going to throw the ball as much. Bissett's not going to mirror what Mahomes has done years past again. But Algier is going to run the ball more. And with Lamar, he's got a lot. He's got a lot of talent, and we're going to see what he can do on his own. Like you said, he had trouble. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention was you mentioned the pass attempts in Baltimore last year. Well, now those pass attempts are going to Cleveland with Greg Roman as being the head coach, correct? So
no, it's not Roman. What the heck's the guy's name? He's Monken, Todd Monken.
I'm sorry. Yes, Todd Monken, who was the offensive coordinator in Baltimore. That's right. So Monken's going to take that passing attack to Cleveland. So not that anybody was in on Jerry Jeudy, but it's time to get out of Jerry Jeudy.
Right.
And everybody loves Harold Fannin. I still love Harold Fannin. I have him as well. And that's the thing about FFPC. FFPC, I love the tight end premium. But if I don't have good young tight ends, I don't have a good tight end group, I don't like that team. I want to have a good tight end group.
I tell you who likes what you're putting out is our good friend Bill Hollywood. You've got a fan in Bill Hollywood, and that means something, brother. It also let's talk about a game that everybody loves. This player's games, George Pickens, and you've been quite eloquently commenting on contracts tonight. We haven't had anyone do that in a very long time, sitting in the guest chair. So keep that rolling and tell me he's going to hold out. It's going to take a while to get to camp. That doesn't bother me. Does it bother you? And wouldn't you be aggressively drafting Pickens?
In a yearly league?
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't hold back. No, I wouldn't hold back because that'll all get worked out. He's got the same agent that Micah Parsons had. So hopefully that agency's sending a different agent. I have to talk to Jerry about the Pickens contract, but I expect that all to get worked out. And if he's got to play for a year on a franchise tag, I think he'll be a good soldier. He knows he's in a good spot. He's going to put up numbers, and he's going to get paid sooner or later. I was in on George Pickens from the start. You just see the guy is oozing with talent, and it was just a matter of location when he was going to take off. I bought him last year for a first-round pick on a team that was on a cusp. It could go either way, and Pickens took me the right way. It took me to the playoffs, which is what you want to do when you trade your first-round pick. You never want to not make the playoffs. Because that'll eat you up inside.
Yeah, it will. It's for sure. One of those. Let me just ask you this about Pickens as far as dynasty goes, Pete. I would imagine that number one, I'm with you. I think the deal, like he's going to play, right? Okay. But there will be some trepidation amongst dynasty owners this summer with Pickens because deadline spur action, and there is no deadline in June. There is no deadline in July. The deadline would be week 1 of the season and whether he's going to play or not. And I think there could be some consternation, some nervousness, some shaky hands with people who have George Pickens in their FFPC dynasty leagues. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're telling everybody in those leagues, if the Pickens owner is getting a little skittish, you got to pounce on that and pick him up for less than 100 cents on the dollar.
Yes, you should. And you know what? And you should offer that Pickens owner your number 1 pick for this year. Let's say you have the 6, 7, 8, 9 pick. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and offer it to that. Not right now, but when the draft is about to happen, when they know who's going to be there and everybody's in love with those rookies, that's when possibly you can move Pickens. You can get Pickens for that number 1 pick instead of taking Concepcion or Denzel Boston. You know what you're getting in Pickens. And if he's not in Dallas, he's going to put up numbers somewhere.
We normally know what we're getting in Bill Hollywood. Throw that up, will you, Balky?
Yeah.
The last
Right.
thing.
I was replying good here.
Just starting to think fantasy football again, was really thinking about retiring. Now, first of all, there's a lie detector should be brought out right now and run on Bill Hollywood. But already starting to get the itch, so that's a good thing. Bill, we have therapy sessions available for you remotely or in person. That's not going to happen. You know, I think I think
Bill was in the running for the main event title last year too. Like
he
He
was.
had a couple of teams up there. I'm like,
Well,
dude,
I want to talk about Eagles. Can I do some Eagles? I want to
fire away, Ferrell.
Last year, they were really PC. They were really beating the drums for Dallas Goedert, and I had pretty much written this player off as a tight end that I thought could help me in the FFPC. And while he wasn't that productive catching the ball, 60 catches last year, man, he found that end zone. He had more touchdowns last year than the last 3 years combined. Now with the uncertain status of Brown and what do you see happening? And what I think we all can agree that we've seen the worst that Hurts has. We think it's going to be better this coming year, no matter who the cast is. Does Goddard return to continue to be that kind of production, or was that just a one-off? And was I 1 year ahead in predicting the decline of this player?
Well, Dallas Goedert's problems have been health more than anything.
Yeah, sure, he can't.
And I think, and I love players that are in there. Like last year, Dallas Goedert was in his contract year, and he performed for the most part. And he was worth whatever you paid for him. And he'll probably do that again. He's got another 1 year deal. And how many books can A.J. Brown read, really? It's time for him to leave Philadelphia and go to New England and play football with Vrabel where he belongs. I mean, do you remember Vrabel after that Tennessee trade? Vrabel came on that draft night. He looked disheveled, looked like he was beaten. He looked like he was in a fight. I'm sure he was. Why are you trading my best player? And then a few months later, he gets fired for performance because you traded our best player. And so it would be appropriate for him to go to New England. I did read that because they signed Dallas Goedert, it's going to be difficult to keep A.J. Brown. We'll see about that. There is some dead money that the Eagles do need to eat in trading Brown. But we'll see what happens. I really hope he goes to New England. I hope he gets out of Philadelphia. That's going to help Devontae Smith. That's going to help Goddard. Right now, there's really not a number 2 in Philadelphia. Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, is the guy, and we saw what he could do in Kansas City. And if you can't put up numbers in Kansas City, it's over. Let's move on from that. When players tell you who they are, believe them.
Believe them. Yeah,
he's not going to Canton.
The Carolina running back situation, I think, is an interesting one after what we saw in free agency. Rico Dowdle moves on to Pittsburgh. No surprise, by the way, that he wasn't back in Carolina. But they do have Chuba Hubbard, Pete, signed. They signed him to the big extension prior to the 2025 season. They also have something called the Jonathan Brooks, who everybody was falling all over themselves to draft. But he's torn the same ACL now twice. Has not played a lot of meaningful football here at the NFL level. But there is some hype building in Carolina on him. He obviously, you can get him for a song right now. You think about Dynasty Cutdowns coming up in a little bit less than 2 weeks in the FFPC. Brooks is going to be a tough hold for a lot of people. How much are you buying into this little bit of a swell of hype that we're getting for Jonathan Brooks in Dynasty leagues right now?
That's exactly on my teams. It's like I'm doing the count in FFPC, especially with those leagues, the one quarterback league or the Superflex where you play a kicker and a defense. That's why I love RotoViz, because I don't have to worry about a kicker or defense.
Yeah.
And and it's easier in the March cutdowns. But I believe that anything can happen, and I think he's going to be fine.
When you consider, like, do you think this is a full-on 50-50 split, or between Hubbard and, if you were to split it this year, your best guess right now between Hubbard and Brooks, and we'll take catches and like touches in general, so catches and rushes. How do you think Carolina divvies up the backfield between those two guys?
You're going to see a lot of it, just like it started out last year with Hubbard and Dowdle. Jonathan Brooks will have to prove himself to earn the playing time, to really get in there and make an impact. So you have to show he can make an impact before he really starts getting the ball. And I don't think they want to put too much on his plate right to begin with. But I see the year as the year progresses, Jonathan Brooks will be used more and more. I mean, he just has Hubbard in front of him, who's a good back, but he's not, as you saw with Dowdle, he can be pushed aside with performance. Jonathan Brooks, I like him as a backup. I'm not really in on him this year in a yearly league, unless it's in the back end of that draft.
Right.
I believe he ruptured more than just his ACL the second time. Second time, I think there were other ligaments involved. But he does have an extra time to recover. He did that last year in December. The year before last in December. So he's got a year and 9 months before the season starts since that second surgery. So he's a good backup. I wouldn't go crazy with Jonathan Brooks, but hey, in the dynasty leagues, I got him in the first round in way too many leagues. He's been on my waiver wire for 2 years. So I kind of want to keep him and see where it goes this year. And then maybe you can move off him for a draft pick in 2027. Which everybody's enthusiastic about.
So I'm just realizing how we're doing on time right now, which is not great, but that's okay because it's been a great conversation. Yes. Ferrell, I'm going to say I got about a half dozen emails I want to get through. I'm going to save those for extra reps for Friday. But Ferrell, why don't we have one final question for this episode?
The one final, and you're such a positive guy, PC. But when you don't see an answer to success, you come up with a very eloquent and very well-positioned stance on how to avoid a player. I want to know who that player is in this draft, dynasty or redraft, maybe both. And then, who's somebody you love? Teasla. I love this player. The Balky is looking at Bryant out at Denver as a guy he loved. Who's the guy that you love?
Last year it was Chris Olave, who was great value. He went like in the 7th or 8th round. And the reason for that is people, he had kind of an off year and people didn't know what to do with New Orleans players. And I think his running mate there at Ohio State is going to be in the same boat, Garrett Wilson. I mean, if you can get anything out of Geno Smith this year, and I think you can, he played under Chip Kelly's offense, which is barely a college offense last year, and he didn't perform well. Who would? So if Geno Smith can be, sort of like the Seattle Geno Smith, and there's not a lot of competition for catches over there in New York with the Jets. Garrett Wilson still has all that talent, and we've been waiting for a breakout from Garrett Wilson, and this could be it. And that's the guy you can, gain in late first, 2026 first this year. Go out and pluck a Garrett Wilson and see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm with you on Wilson. If you look at even last year where he hardly played, if you look at what he was on pace for, if we were to extrapolate that over the course of the season, didn't look that bad. In fact, it looked pretty good. And the seasons before that looked pretty good from a fantasy standpoint as well. I think Wilson is a player that I need to be in business with in 2026.
And the Jets have upgraded their offensive line too, which that's going to help Geno Smith immensely.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed it. A player that you're staying away from, or perhaps
a player I'm staying away from.
He's going negative, Balky.
Well, okay, hold on. Maybe we should frame it like this, Pete. Is there a player on your – I mean, obviously everybody's facing cutdowns coming up in a couple of weeks, but is there a player on your roster that you're fine parting with for maybe not full value, like maybe 80 cents on the dollar, 90 cents on the dollar? Is there a player like that for you in your dynasty leagues right now?
Sure. Calvin Ridley, if he's still on the roster. Deebo Samuel, they can all go.
Now hang on a second. Deebo Samuel.
He's still unsigned, Ferrell.
Yeah, but where do you think he's going to land? Or do you want to save that for extra reps?
I don't see. He's a specialty player. I don't know who's going. What 3 or 4 teams that can use a Deebo Samuel correctly has an opening. I would think maybe Houston, but they're pretty set at wide receiver. We're going to see. That's going to go on for a while. Deebo, and not in the dynasty. I mean, maybe in the rookie draft, you can pick him up in the 3rd or 4th round and hope for the best. But I had him last year. I was a bit disappointed, so I'm not going to be in on him again.
Here's my prediction on Samuel. I don't think he signs until after the NFL draft, and I think it's going to be a team that missed on wide receiver in the draft, that didn't get the players that they're hoping for. And hey, Deebo Samuel's out there. His value's been depressed. He's been on the market for 2 months. Nobody signed him. We could probably get in and get him. I don't think he's the – I mean, listen, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but he does not strike me as a player that is holding out for a mint. I think he'd be willing to take what somebody be willing to give him right now. And I just don't think that there's a whole lot of people willing to give him a contract until they find out what they're going to do in Pittsburgh at the end of next month. That's my prediction on it. We'll see what happens.
And stay away from all Commanders players this year. Stay away from all Dolphins. Dolphins are the New York Jets South. They're going to be tanking. I expect Dan Quinn to be fired by the end of the year, and it's not his fault. But that GM, Adam Peters, is not doing a great job over there.
You don't want that running back down in Miami?
That he's going to be available. He'll be available at the trade deadline. You see, now he should be available right now, but they do have 7 draft picks in this draft already, and they got to give the fan base a little bit of hope. So he's going to stay there, but this is his last year. I don't see, Miami re-signing a great player like that because, hey, they're rebuilding and they're Miami. So Achan's probably going to be on the trade block come November at the trade, October at the trade deadline, and some team's going to be very happy with him. Maybe the Chicago Bears. That would be a nice fit.
We'll have to get Pete C., Tom Smith, and our good pal from over across the pond in England to get together and talk a little more Dolphins football.
Paul Breton and Tom Smith, 2 big Miami.
Get Paulie in here, wants to talk.
They're doing a lot better with that old GM Greer gone.
That is true. That is true. And I'll say this, speaking of GMs, John Eric Sullivan came from Green Bay, who's the new GM in Miami. Jeff Hafley came from Green Bay, the new head coach in Miami. And what are these? What was the message that we got from these guys at their introductory press conferences? I think Jeff Hafley even said it. When it comes to winter football, where they have to go to New York and they have to go to Buffalo and they have to go to New England in that cold weather, fast might get slow, but big doesn't get small. Well, what does Achan do? He's a big speed guy. They've been getting rid of the speed guys on this roster since Mike McDaniel left. We saw it this week, guys. Jalen Waddle, one of the fastest receivers in the NFL, he's now in Denver. So I think and I know I understand that they want to keep Achan around right now. They feel like he's a building block, and maybe he is. But it would not surprise me at all to see Ollie Gordon take a bigger role on this team this year, more so than what he had last year. Or maybe they bring in another bigger running back and let Jalen Wright go, or trade Jalen Wright because he's another speed guy as well. So I think they're remaking this Dolphins team to being a much more big physical team. Maybe Achan's a part of that, but maybe he's not as big of a part of it as he has been the last 2 or 3 years.
Right. This is a whole new offense. Is he going to catch 70 balls again? Probably not.
Yeah, it's a great point.
And Fritz Pollard is the offensive coordinator down there too. So
exactly.
Fritz Pollard was the first head coach and quarterback of color in professional football.
How about that?
There's some
knowledge.
Everybody knows.
Knowledge tonight. I love it. Okay, guys, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a pin in these emails that we have, and I'm going to save those for extra reps. And for right now, Pete, I'm going to let you go. We'll see you in the next studio here shortly. Thank you so much for being a part of this Monday Night Live broadcast. This is a lot of fun. Great feedback already from the YouTube audience, the people that are streaming, viewing, downloading later. I'm sure we're going to get more of that. Good luck in all of your Dynasty fantasy football leagues and all your leagues this year as well. And we'll talk with you shortly.
Thank you very much. I had a great time. Best of luck.
That is Pete C, a.k.a. Fritz Pollard, a.k.a. Ned, joining us here. The 20-time FFPC Dynasty League winner. He's going to join us for extra reps on Friday as well. Ferrell, good stuff from Pete. Much more good stuff coming up. In fact, on extra reps on Friday, we'll get into Ashton Genty, Marquise Brown, Christian Watson, Jordan Love, Drake May, and Jawan Johnson. Those will be the topics that we discuss on Friday. Until then, KFFSC.com, home of the KFFSC main event, home of the Sweet 16 championship filling up right now. And of course, those $39 Draft Masters that everybody wants to get in, compete against me in those as well. KFFSC.com is where to go. KFFSC.com. Thank you so much, my friend. We will talk with you on Friday.
See you, bro.
That is Ferrell Elliott. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to complete our show tonight. Thanks to Pete C, a.k.a. Fritz Pollard, Ferrell Elliott, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and of course, each and every one of you. We will be back next Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time for more High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Watch FFPC Insider Access live from 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night, Thursday night. It is myself and Draft Shark Shane Hallam will spend at least an hour breaking down the rookie class, who he likes, who he doesn't. Shane's got a great eye for this, so we'll definitely pick his brain for 2 full hours tomorrow. That's going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, Friday night, extra reps, myself, Ferrell Elliott, and Pete C. hanging out, talking more Dynasty Fantasy Football and maybe some redraft there as well. So that is what's coming up this week, remaining on your live streams and your podcast for the FFPC. Until then, FFPC Dynasty and Empire Orphans available for as little as $1 at myffpc.com. The Never Too Early Best Ball, the Never Too Early Superflex Best Ball tournaments going on, $40,000 and $10,000 grand prizes there. The FFPC Big Gorilla back, $1 million grand prize, just $350 to enter. Early Rampage tournament going on right now, as well as the 7 Bananas promo. We've already had a couple of people. I think we had one person win a main event team already for that. So people are really winning in that promotion. Again, don't forget about the Baby Gorilla, just $125 to enter, but $100,000 grand prize at stake. That's all at myffpc.com, myffpc.com. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live, which will be Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. FFPC Insider Access with myself and Shane Hallam from Draft Sharks. And as our friend Vince Staffolino reminds us, you are officially over the hump now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
I know I try to make this outro different every time, but this will probably be my outro for the next few weeks. It has been the last couple of weeks. We encourage more feedback on our move to Wednesdays. What do you like? What don't you like? Our extra rep show, our spinoff show on Fridays. What do you like? What do you don't like about that? Tell us what you want to see. Tell us what you want to hear. Tell us what you want to listen to. We are definitely nothing. Ferrell and I are nothing if we are not people pleasers. So let us know. highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com is the address to send it to. You can always hit me up on X as well at Eric Balkman. Welcome any and all feedback as long as it's constructive criticism. Thanks for watching, everybody. Talk with you Thursday night on FFPC Insider Access.